and thank you for tuning in to Patience Pride Taking Back Control. I'm Sheila Shaw, and I am your host. This evening, we're going to talk about what to do when you're living with a medical crisis and you have a mountain of medical debt. How can you get yourself out of debt? We're going to try to offer you some solutions this evening. Our guest is Donna Brandt, and Donna is a financial coach, and always we have Peggy Spears, who's going to offer some wonderful insight. First thing I want to do, Donna, is I got a question for you. You and I have had some extensive conversations in regarding finances. You have attended numerous seminars. You've educated yourself very well on the world of financials, and I've picked your brain often, and we've had a lot of conversations. And the last conversation we had is I asked you, what does a person do that is living with a financial crisis and dealing with a chronic illness where they have a mountain of debt, trying to pay for their medical situation and whatnot? And at the end of the conversation, neither one of us could really come up with a solution for that, although you did go into long-term life planning. I believe that's what it was. I would like for you to talk to us about that. How do we prevent the situation to begin with?
I think we were talking about long-term care, which is defined as needing help with 2 or more activities of daily living for a period of 90 days or more, and or cognitive impairment like Alzheimer's or dementia. And that can happen at any time of life, but to pay for that, either to have someone come into your home and take care of you, or if you need to go into assisted living or a nursing home, it's very expensive. And so there is something called long-term care insurance available to transfer the risk of that cost onto an insurance company. The thing is, though, you must qualify medically for that insurance, so it's something you have to get in place before you need it.
Mm-hmm. And I am just going to interject real quick, because when we were talking about this, the first thing I said is, wow, this could be great because a lot of our customers are senior citizens. And you said,
I said, well, that's one of the myths of long-term care, is that it's a senior citizens issue, but the truth of the matter is that 40% of people receiving long-term care now are under the age of 65. And so we use Christopher Reeves as an example. He was in an accident and needed long-term care until the end of his life, and didn't have long-term care insurance. It was very expensive, and so that's something that we need to educate people about and talk about.
Well, and this seems to be the problem, because a lot of us today, unfortunately, are dealing with a chronic illness, and a lot of us are having a hard time getting any type of health insurance, let alone some type of long-term health insurance. So I want to address the many people that are watching this program that are dealing with a chronic illness, and they have a mountain of debt, because this is what Peggy and I hear all day long. Well, we can't afford your product, although it's a very modestly priced, because they're just so piled up. And I realize you don't have a crystal ball and whatnot, but let's talk about it from that standpoint. We're already behind the 8 ball. We've already been diagnosed. We're on Medicare. I know that you have a lot of knowledge about the Medicare system, and unfortunately it's declining. So let's go there and let's let our people know what's going on.
Well, what's happening with Medicare is an issue of Medicare spend down. What that refers to is, to qualify for Medicare, which is an entitlement program offered by our government, something that we all pay into while we're working, you must spend down your own wealth, or whatever you have, down to poverty level. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a welfare program. Mm-hmm. And you aren't left with as many options as if you had long-term care insurance or your own means of taking care of that. There are now filial laws in place which not only require you to spend down to poverty level, but now will go after your children and their assets before you can qualify for Medicare. Medicare is going broke 5 times as fast as Social Security. Mm. And so this kind of entitlement program needs to be revamped. It needs to be relooked at, restructured on a national level.
How do we do that?
Well, like we've talked about, we need to get involved. We need to educate ourselves, first of all, and understand how these programs work. Mm-hmm. We need not to approach our financial plans with Medicare in mind. If that's your plan, if you are relying on Medicare to save you or to take care of you if and when you have a health issue, mm-hmm. that's not a good planning strategy. Mm-hmm. So you need to get involved with local government officials. You need to get involved on the state level, the national level, to find out all you can about these programs and see how we can turn it around and urge our elected officials to address this and not have their heads in the sand about it and ignore it until it bubbles up to the surface and we just are in a crisis. But more than that, regardless of what happens on that level, we all need to take personal responsibility for our finances and have a plan, because most of us are one health event away from financial crisis.
And you know, the interesting thing is, a lot of the customers that Peggy and I deal with on a day-to-day basis, they are already in a medical crisis. And we often say, you know, you have to get together, you have to share your information, you have to seek out, you have to go to your government officials. And Peggy and I, we actually had a situation to where we were directed to go to our congressman, our local congressman. And Peggy, I'd like to go ahead and let you offer that information. You know, how easy was it for us to go? Because a lot of people that are watching, when you mention go to your elected officials, we see them as all the way in Washington, totally unreachable. We're dealing with staff people, but the bottom line is they're very reachable, and their job is to help us. Peggy, what happened? How easy was it for us to go to our local congressman back in 2006 when we were advocating for some of our customers?
Piece of cake, phone call. Just took one phone call, went on the internet, found the telephone number, and gave them a call, talked to some nice young ladies. They immediately started to help us. They were advocates for our cause, and it got resolved real quickly.
And she's exactly right. You know, we had a situation to where we needed someone higher than our level, and it really is, it's not as difficult as it may seem, you know. So now I also want to talk about, I'm a strong believer of taking what we have and sharing it with others. Taking our successes. I truly believe that, and this is going to apply with, you know, you're behind the 8 ball with your finances, but maybe when you're sitting in the lobby waiting for your doctor's appointment, or when you're at the grocery store, or wherever, if we start talking to our fellow human beings, just period, I think that there's a lot of information that we can give and offer each other, which leads me to, I know that you attended a seminar where it was very much, well, I'm going to let you tell it. I'm not even going to give away, but Donna, go ahead and tell us what happened.
Okay, so you're referring to the weekend where we played games in order to learn how we think about money and to reset our mindsets when it comes to money matters. Well, one of the most powerful games that we played, we were separated into different groups of farm animals, and our task was to bid for food. And we were given envelopes and told to come up with strategies among our own little group, and told that only one group could win, and based on the bid that we would make. And then they played loud music to distract us, and that's what life is like. You know, there's always all these distractions and things to keep you from thinking straight when you're competing out there in the big world. And after a while, somebody realized that we could all win if we pooled all our money together and approached that way, so that we're all winners. But it took a while to get that information disseminated to all the groups, again because of the loud music. And then if I approached someone from another group, they would want to keep me away because we were competing against each other, and that's what life is like. We all think we're competing for these limited resources and information, but the truth is, if we all work together and share information and think in a win-win mindset, we can all win. We can all have the same good information. We can all approach together and make things change and make things happen.